Anthony Fauci's book disappears from major booksellers as more and more stuff comes out about his emails. So we'll talk just a bit about what's going on with that. Anheuser-Busch says they will give away free beer when 70% of Americans get vaccinated, as long as they do so by July 4th. So we'll talk a bit about what's happening with that. Bunch of stuff happening up in Congress today, including the parliamentarians slapping up back against Democrats once again. And Donald Trump gets back on Facebook and Instagram on the same day that they shut down his blog. It's going to be all this and more. Hey, hey, hey. Do you trust the plan yet? I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Contemporary. My name is Jay Edgar. When we have got a bunch of stuff to get to, but I caught this right out of the corner of my eye right before we got started, and I wanted to make sure that we covered this and touched this because I thought that you guys would find this entertaining. I know everybody in my audience loves the Honorable and Venerable Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez as much as I do, which you can't call her AOC because that's somehow demeaning to women. Even though that's her Twitter handle here, but I caught this right before, and the guy lives rent-free in these people's heads. He seriously does, because this is what she tweets out. And this wouldn't have made the story unless oh, god damn it. Never mind. Let's get that back up here. You shift it and it fucking takes it away from you. There we go. That was the tweet I was looking for. Just over a week ago, my abuela fell ill. I went to Puerto Rico to see her. My first time in a year because of COVID. This is her home. Hurricane Maria relief hasn't arrived. Trump blocked relief money for PR. People are being forced to flee ancestral homes, and developers are taking them. Yeah, I get that. Okay. But let's be realistic here with this. I mean, it's been a year. You're rich. You can send money back over there to Puerto Rico all the time. And it even spends. You don't even have to convert it. Sell your Tesla and send her money to get the house repaired. Sell those $1,000 pantsuits that you wear on the cover of magazines and send money back over there. You have a 6-figure salary on top of all the kickbacks that you get. Fix your abuela's home. It doesn't fucking take the government doing shit for you. Do it yourself. Private charity, you cunt. Alright, anyway. We can't dwell on AOC as much as I'd like to. We got a bunch of stuff to get to today. But before we get started, head on over and check out my friends over at the Freedom Scoop Media Group, where you can find great shows such as The Generational Gap, The Daily Ignoramus, The Breakdown with Breckenhoff, The R-Rated Conservative, and The Freckles and Brit Show. Freckles and Brit should be coming back at some point here in the near future. I thought they were coming back at the beginning of June, so they possibly could be back tomorrow. I think June 4th was the day they were saying, so look for them. Go over and check out my friends over there, and bookmark the website, because once we get back up and running, we will have great merch and great direct support programs, so you can find direct ways to help us support great creators. All right, let's look at your finance for the morning here, which apparently they don't have in Puerto Rico. And I'm kind of entertained by this because it looks like they tried really, really hard on the Dow. And it looks like somebody tried to make sure that it spiked up towards the end too. But the Dow ended yesterday at 34,600.38 points. That is up 25.07 points, or 0.073%. So it barely broke even throughout the day. And everyone was excited over the fact that it jumped up in the middle of the day and then droop. Then we got this, and it looks like the futures are not looking even any better on this, so we will see what happens with that. Moving into your Bitcoin is moving slightly up, so I hope that some of you had a chance to buy it while it was on sale. My Doge is moving up too, and that kind of makes me a little bit happy here, but the Bitcoin is currently at $37,354 US dollars and 40 US cents. This is not financial advice, so check with your financial advisor to see if Bitcoin is right for you. But I would think that a lot of people right now are saying that Bitcoin is right for you, unless they're trying to get the people out of the way so that the rich, wealthy investors can get into it instead. So we will see what happens with that. On the fuel, they mixed it up today. So we can't just say this is the highest, this is the highest, but it looks like we are sitting at 265, so 262 I saw in here, but for the most part, it's your 265s are ruling and into your 270s, with one 282 out in Wanakee as well. So a couple different mixed gas prices. Looks like they are holding steady here throughout the Biden admin, so we will continue to watch those. Let's see what IBD has to say for the morning. Get ready for the opening bell. You guys want a free webinar, right? Investors Business Daily, Dow Jones Futures slump, AMC selling, more shares as meme stocks rule market rally, but here's the winning long-term strategy. The winning long-term strategy, of course, is to buy expensive subscriptions to magazines like Investors Business Daily. From Ed Carson, Dow Jones Futures fell solidly Thursday morning, along with S&P 500 futures and NASDAQ futures. The stock market rally closed with slim gains on Wednesday, continuing the recent trend of minimal moves on the major indices. Wednesday was all about AMC Entertainment and other meme stocks, such as GameStop, BlackBerry, Bed Bath & Beyond, which also is probably not a meme stock anymore because, hey, people are showering for the first time in a year because I got to go back to work, you guys. I need to have that good smelling soap and all 25 different kinds of lotion and 75 different kinds of hand sanitizer and a new barrette and 65 towels because God knows I've been using the same towel for the last... That's not a meme stock anymore. And Cost Corporation. AMC stock nearly doubled, GME stock, BB stock, BBBY stock, and costs were all up sharply. AMC stock reversed lower Thursday morning as the movie theater chain announced yet another share sale. Other meme stocks were also active. Meanwhile, Tesla tested key support on Wednesday on a variety of negative headlines, while Digital Turbine reversed lower from key resistance following earnings. Both highlights the risk of buying old winners when they're in the early stages of a possible rebound from a sharp sell-off. Tesla stock fell early Thursday, suggesting another move below its 200-day line. Buying meme stocks or former leaders trying to recover can be seductive, but it's not the path to long-term stock market success. I don't know, dude. A lot of people made a whole bunch of fucking money off of that. NetApp, Splunk, Smartsheet, Elastic, and C3.ai reported earnings after the close. NetApp, Smartsheet, and Elastic topped estimates. Splunk and C3.ai beat on revenue, but losses were wider than expected. NTAP stock edged lower overnight. Elastic jumped, and the Smartsheet rose in extended trade, while Splunk fell and AI stock tumbled. AI stock had rebounded somewhat in the past few weeks after crashing in the prior 3 months. On your futures, Dow futures fell 0.55% versus fair value. S&P 500 futures sank 0.7%, and NASDAQ 100 futures retreated 0.9%. That suggests NASDAQ could open very close to its 50-day moving average. Remember, overnight action in Dow futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. So, a lot of stuff moving around here. I love how they keep trying to say AMC is a meme stock when you see all these e-thoughts over here with their Instagram up, and yes, I'm transmitting an Instagram over here down there on the bottom. But yeah, you see all these little fucking e-thoughts over here. That's Jadger102, by the way, is the Instagram page. If you guys aren't following the Instagram page, you've got a nice backup just in case something does crash catastrophically, because I never put my phone on the Wi-Fi because I've got unlimited data. So that's transmitting, and if something catastrophically crashes here, as long as the cell towers stay up, you will still see the rest of Contemporary. So go over there and check that out. It's a fun time, too. Sometimes I put recipes up. For the most part, it's Contemporary back episodes. But sometimes I put recipes up. Sometimes I put my garden up there. Sometimes I put random shit up there. But for the most part, it's Contemporary. It's a good backup. You guys should follow. Let's see if we can get me to 1,000 people over on the Instagram side. But yeah, I mean, just looking back over here, you see all these e-thoughts on Instagram. Oh, I'm to the theater for the first time in a year. I'm going to see Cruella. Look at me. Look over here. They're like Jim Acosta in that sense. And Bed Bath & Beyond is the same thing. Like GameStop and BlackBerry, I get it. Why GameStop didn't try to make themselves a Steam competitor, I don't know. That would have been the smartest thing to do with all that money that came in. But Looking back at that, BlackBerry and GameStop, yeah, I can see that. And costs, I don't know enough about to say whether or not that could be a meme stock too. But I mean, AMC and Bed Bath and Beyond, it's open, guys. People are going back to these stores, and hell, you can go into a maskless at this point. So it's not a meme anymore. It's an actual commodity that people need to use. But they're still going to tell you that it's a meme stock and don't buy it. All right, let's head on over to Yahoo Finance. Yahoo! Stock market news, live updates, stock futures sink amid geopolitical concerns with investors awaiting jobs data. From Emily McCormick. Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one to see because your monthly job report is due tomorrow. Stock futures sank Thursday morning following fresh concerns over geopolitical ties with Russia and China. Traders also looked ahead to jobs data out later in the morning and on Friday. Investor sentiment turned lower after Russia's finance minister announced the country will entirely remove U.S. dollar assets from its national wealth fund and instead shift further to euros, yuan, and gold. With the threat of sanctions from the U.S. looming, elsewhere, President Biden is reportedly planning to amend a ban on investments in companies with ties to China's military, according to Bloomberg, which is Ron Helton's favorite magazine from his favorite politician, in a move that would target key industries in the world's second largest economy. Earlier stocks have been holding in a holding pattern this week. Ahead of key economic data releases, ADP will release its closely watched report on private payroll changes for May, Thursday morning, which is expected to show another 650,000 jobs came back last month on top of the 742,000 added back in April, and the Labor Department's report on the new weekly unemployment claims is expected to show new filings below 400,000 for the first time since March of 2020. See, that's a little bit more of a reasonable number. Not this, we added 1.2 million jobs over here, and then we have 226,000. Now, especially given the fact that some of these states are starting to cut back and say, okay, you have to be looking for a job if you want to get your unemployment still. I actually would expect to see those numbers. The 742,000 added back in April, that was 226,000. But 650, given that these provisions are coming in, that is actually a reasonable number. I could see that happening. With fewer individuals becoming newly unemployed as more areas of the economy reopen. Both reports will set the stage for the Labor Department's May jobs report out Friday morning, which will be instrumental in determining the strength of the economic recovery and suggesting whether the Federal Reserve might soon be due to taper its crisis-era asset purchase program. April's sharply disappointing jobs report, with a paltry 266,000 jobs added back, while 1 million had been expected, served as fuel for the Fed to stay on hold with current policies, but this stance could be undercut by a marked improvement in data. Some pundits note, I would not put the cart before the horse if I was you, government, because you still have a large swath of the younger half of the millennial generation and Generation Z, who you've screwed over since they were able to vote, that are looking at this and saying, fuck you, give us the pay that we want, or we're going to sit on unemployment forever. So just keep that in mind before you jizz in your pants over the jobs reports that you think is coming. And if it gets to be better, I'll make a public apology off of this. Because I'm willing to do that. I sit back and I say, okay, I was wrong. They actually got this here. The government doesn't do that. The data firms don't do that. They just come off and say, ha, I was still right, and then they shit over everything else. But we will see. That's going to come out tomorrow morning after Contemporary, so we'll talk about it probably over the weekend while we're having the retirement party for the laptop, or on Monday on Contemporary. Let's get into the big news of the day. And today we start with Dr. Anthony Fauci. First, coming from Fox News, Fauci's forthcoming book seemingly scrubbed from Amazon, Barnes & Noble amid backlash. From Yale Halon. White House coronavirus advisor and top government epidemiologist Dr. Anthony Fauci's forthcoming book appears to have been scrubbed from Amazon and other major distributors following the release of thousands of his emails on Wednesday. Fauci's book, titled Expect the Unexpected, 10 Lessons on Truth, Service, and the Way Forward, was announced on May 17th with a November publication date according to its original Amazon listing. The listing described the book as offering inspiration and Fauci's unique perspective on leadership, expecting the unexpected, and finding joy in difficult times. This comes to us from Breaking 911. This tweet says, developing Dr. Anthony Fauci's forthcoming book, Expect the Unexpected, has been removed for pre-order from all major online booksellers. Well, that was unexpected. On Wednesday, however, a critic noted that the book appeared to have been completely scrubbed from the site. A cached version of the Amazon listing still displayed the book's promotional description and pre-order status. Just the News reported, Barnes & Noble also appears to have taken down the book's listing Wednesday morning, a separate cached website shows. Amazon and Barnes & Noble did not immediately respond to Fox News' request for comment. No shit, Sherlock. You're Fox News and both of those companies hate you. The move prompted speculation on social media, with critics wondering whether Fauci's now public emails had something to do with the listing's disappearance. Amazon is just following the science, one user quipped. It's probably being fact-checked so it's fully scrubbed, suggested another. Fauci's emails, which were obtained via Freedom of Information Act, prompted fierce backlash from Republicans, particularly those who were harshly critical of his comments on mask wearing and the possibility of the coronavirus leaked from a Wuhan lab, which we all know that's going on as well. And we'll talk just a bit about that and some of the other stuff. Full disclaimer, I have not read the emails yet, and I'm probably going to I took today off because I do need to go hit the bank and I do need to drop off some recycling. But other than that, yeah, I took today off from my regular 40-hour-a-week job, so I'm going to sit down and I'm going to read some of these emails just to see what the hype is all about. I know Styx is, he made a 5th video yesterday, and he's got the link to all of the released emails in the description of that video. So I'm going to sit down and read it and just see what's going on with it, because I'm interested. I hope you guys are too. I hope you guys are interested in me reading this, so you guys come back and see what's going on with that. But yeah, I haven't read it yet. I hear it's juicy as shit, though, and we'll talk a bit about that, too, coming up. But, yeah, the book is gone. I know Posobiec was talking about the White House possibly considering a quiet exit strategy for the good doctor. I've not been able to independently green-check verify that, but it wouldn't be surprising, at least. Because the narrative is over, and they've got to say, oh, well, you know, he's been in government for 50 years. He just wants to retire and go home back to Brooklyn, or... Is it Brooklyn that he's from? I think so. Yeah, the drugstore in Brooklyn. But that's what we got here. Let's keep going. From Yahoo News, Anthony Fauci's emails reveal how he outright rejected COVID-19 lab leak theory last year. From Swarajia staff. And I just wanted to point out, because this is from Swarajia, if you look at the address here, which you're not going to be able to see on the audio platform, which I promise I'm going to be getting back into, by the way, this is not from our news.yahoo.com. If you look up here at the hyperlink up at the top, if you can see it on whichever screen you're watching here, what does it say up there? in.news.yahoo.com. We had to go to India to get news about this lab leak from a mainstream green check verified source. Because nobody in the U.S. is even coming anywhere close to this. They all think that Fauci's still a fucking saint. But let's see what our friends over on the other side of the world have to say about this. America's top infectious disease expert, Dr. Anthony Fauci, hallowed be his name, has been under intense scrutiny for his role in funding the Wuhan Institute of Virology. His emails from last year, obtained via Freedom of Information Act, reveal that he didn't entertain the idea that the novel coronavirus could have leaked from a lab. The lab leak theory regarding the novel coronavirus, that it escaped from a lab in China's Wuhan, intentionally or otherwise, has suddenly gained immense popularity and acceptability more than a year after it was declared a conspiracy theory by U.S. mainstream media. I'm gonna debunk! debunked by top scientists, including that country's leading expert, Dr. Fauci, and censored by the tech giants like Twitter, Facebook, et al. Fauci's position has changed since May of last year when he rejected the claims that the virus came from a lab or that it was man-made. Later, it came to light that the National Institute of Health, which Fauci has led since 1984, the same year that I came into the world, and I believe the same year that my good friend Chilaga came into the world as well, had funded Wuhan Institute of Virology via the nonprofit EcoHealth Alliance, led by Dr. Peter Daszak, to the tune of $600,000 over a period of 5 years. The grant was provided to study the transmission of coronaviruses from bats to humans to better understand the SARS-CoV-1 epidemic in the early 2000s. And yes, now we're up to H10N3 too, by the way, just so you guys know, and that's coming too. As Fauci came under intense scrutiny over the last month, where he was grilled by U.S. lawmakers in multiple hearings, he stated that he wasn't convinced anymore of the natural origin theory of the commie fucking coup. I think we... and scene. I think we should continue to investigate what went on in China until we continue to find out the best of our ability what happened. Fauci's emails, obtained by a request by journalists using the Freedom of Information Act, now reveal he was quite convinced of the natural origin theory of the Wuhan virus. One of his emails he termed a paper published by a group of Indian researchers really outlandish. The paper had postulated that the new coronavirus had 4 inserts similar to HIV-1, and that was not a coincidence. And we do have some redactions going on here as well, by the way. This Indian paper is really outlandish. Agree about John Cohen's nice summary. Let's see. From Collins Francis, sent Sunday, February 2nd, 2020, to Fauci Anthony, NIH, NIAID, Tabak Lawrence, Walnuts Carey. More evolution of coronavirus. In case you haven't seen, attaches the Indian paper claiming the HIV sequences have been inserted into the 2019 NCOV, which has been roundly debunked. I found John Cohen's piece in Science to be a pretty useful summary. And there's the hyperlink. Of course, this is a screenshot, so we can't follow the hyperlink. Which, I mean, for the most of us, I don't think it's going to mean a lot. I don't have a medical degree. Maybe one of you guys does, but I don't have a medical degree. I can read a bunch of words, but it might not mean anything to any of us. It probably won't mean anything to me, I'm not going to lie. I fix cars and yell into a microphone for a living. On 22nd February, when a Weill Cornell Medical College Associate Professor of Dermatology sent Fauci a mail saying, "We think there's a possibility the virus was released from a lab in Wuhan, the biotech area of China," Fauci forwarded it to a colleague, directing her to please handle. Interestingly, Dr. Peter Daszak, whose nonprofit Fauci-led NIH used to fund Wuhan Institute of Virology, also thanked him for debunking the lab leak theory. Of course, a lot has changed since then. The latest study came out on 30 May, authored by British professor Angus Dalglish, known for creating the first working HIV vaccine, and Norwegian virologist Dr. Berber Sorensen has discovered unique fingerprints, 6 inserts created at the Wuhan lab. So, still a lot of information going on here. We're going to start moving into a lot of medical jargon here, but given the fact that in order to get this covered by something that's Green Check verified, Yahoo News is Green Check verified, we had to go to Indian publications for this because, as we saw yesterday, and you guys read the articles with me. You guys read it with me, right there with me, where CNN and even Fox News was kneeling down and sucking the giant cock of Dr. Anthony Fauci and saying, please, please still worship us. Please let us worship you while we're there. And now we see India coming out here and saying, okay, he was denying what we were saying in our country because he didn't want the lab leak thing to come out. And yes, I do want to sit down and read these emails. I really do. I think it's going to be a great time. I know other journalists have also started to do so. Other amateur journalists have started to do so, including our friend Hannah Cox, friend of the program. a woman who got to sit down and appear on the charity stream. So thank you to Hannah Cox for that. But she put a couple of screenshots up here for us. Tweeting out, let's get this straight. Fauci's new emails show he admitted in February of 2020 that masks weren't effective. Discussed the gain-of-function research he recently tried to deny involvement in. Was notified the virus looked engineered. Let's read. From Fauci Anthony NIH NIAID, sent February 1st of 2020 to Auchincloss Hugh NIH NIAID. RE continued. Okay, stay tuned. From Auchincloss Hugh, the paper you sent me says the experiments were performed before the gain-of-function pause, but have since been reviewed and approved by NIH. Not sure what it means since Emily is so sure that no coronavirus work has gone on through the P3 framework. She will try to determine if we have any distant ties to this work abroad. Sent from my iPad. And a little bit longer one here, but we're going to go with this as well, from Fauci Anthony, sent February 1st again to Christian G. Anderson. Thanks, Christian. Talk soon on the call. This replying to Christian G. Anderson. Hi, Tony. Thanks for sharing. Yes, I saw this earlier today, and both Eddie and myself are actually quoted in it. It's a great article, but the problem is that our the screen is really small. Phylogenetic analyses weren't able to answer whether the sequences were unusual at individual residues, except if they are completely off. On a phylogenetic tree, the virus looks totally normal, and close to clustering with bats suggests that it serves as the reservoir. The unusual features of the virus make up a really small part of the genome, so one has to look really closely at all the sequences to see that some of the features potentially look engineered. We have a good team lined up to look very critically at this, so we don't know much more at the end of the day, or at the end of the weekend, rather. I should mention that after the discussions earlier today, Eddie, Bob, Mike, and myself all find the genome inconsistencies with expectations from evolutionary theory, but we have to look at this much more closely, and there are still further analyses to be done, so those opinions could still change. Best, Christian. So, a lot of stuff happening here. I can't wait to sit down and read some of this stuff. This is going to be insane. And we'll see what goes on with this. Let's grab one here from the Daily Wire. Hashtag Fauci emails. Fauci humble brags about his sex appeal to the masses. From Amanda Prestigiacomo. Revealed in journalist-obtained emails, Dr. Anthony Fauci had a Google alert for his full name and passed along an article about his sex appeal. Fauci pulled a classic humble brag by email in April of 2020 where he complained to someone about a write-up talking about the internet sexualization of the bureaucrat titled Cuomo Crush and Fauci Fever. Sexualization of these men is a real thing on the internet. A humble brag, for the uninitiated, is defined as followed. An ostensibly modest or self-deprecating statement whose actual purpose is to draw attention to something of which one is proud. The Washington Post, where democracy goes to die in darkness, reported on one of the emails, emphasis added. At times, Fauci grew bewildered by the public fascination with him. The emails show on March 31st, a colleague at the National Institutes of Health sent Fauci an article from the Post with the headline, Fauci socks, Fauci donuts, Fauci fan art. The coronavirus experts attracts a cult following. It's not a cult. Truly surrealistic. Hopefully this all stops soon, Fauci replied. In another note, he added, it's not at all pleasant. That is for sure. On April 7th, Fauci received a Google News alert for his name. One of the articles was titled Cuomo Crush and Fauci Fever. Sexualization of these men is a real thing on the internet. Fauci forwarded the note to someone. The name and email address are redacted, and urged the person to click on the link. It will blow your mind, the doctor wrote. Our society is totally nuts. Yeah, he was loving this whole fucking thing. If you come back to try and tell me that he hated that he wasn't in the limelight, he was loving this whole fucking thing. And now he's got a children's book. He has a children's book about him and his origins, but it's not a cult. It's not a cult. All right, let's grab one here from The Blaze. A group of online amateur sleuths unraveled the cover-up on evidence for the COVID lab leak theory from Carlos Garcia. A group of amateur sleuths on the internet is being credited for much of the work that forced mainstream scientists and the media to acknowledge the possibility of the lab leak theory after months of skepticism and ridicule. The group dubbed itself DRASTIC, an acronym for Decentralized Radical Autonomous Search Team Investigating COVID-19. Without the work done by DRASTIC team, I really don't know where we would be today with the origins of COVID-19, tweeted Alina Chan, a researcher at MIT and Harvard, in April. Because what they have accomplished is collectively not something scientists can do. It's more similar to intelligence gathering, she added. For months, members of the team probed the evidence to test statements from Shi Zhengli, director of the Wuhan Institute of Virology, and others who ridiculed the possibility of the lab leak theory. The feature story in Newsweek documents how DRASTIC unraveled various attempts by the Chinese government and the Wuhan Institute to conceal evidence that supports the theory that the coronavirus could have come from a laboratory leak. So, interestingly enough, we've got people in the background that are doing this as well. So, good on them. I'm going to grab I'm going to hold on to this for the Monday show, of course, but I'm going to grab the link from the Newsweek one, and I'm going to put that in the Discord so you guys can see what their feature story is, because the Blaze is kind of biased, I'm not going to lie. But that's what we have going on with that. Let's grab one here. Archived via the Telegraph out of Vietnam, out of the UK, not Vietnam. Vietnam's very dangerous new hybrid variant may be fueling the worst outbreak so far. You thought this shit was over. The government's got control, and they got a taste of power, and they are going to use it. Because that's what governments do once they have power. From Nicholas Smith. Vietnam has suspended international flights from today into its capital, Hanoi, and commercial hub, Ho Chi Minh City, as it tries to control a suspected new hybrid coronavirus variant that it appears is fanning in the Southeast Asian nation's worst outbreak of the pandemic. China has also tightened its border security, as its neighbor, once considered a pandemic success story, now plans to test all 13 million residents of Ho Chi Minh City and tighten social distancing measures. Vietnam's plight follows a now familiar pattern of Coup surges across Asia, most alarmingly in countries like Singapore, Laos, Thailand, and Taiwan. Ooh, they said Taiwan is a country. Naughty, 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 naughty. That were praised for beating the virus in 2020, only to be caught back out by a global vaccine shortage as new variants ricocheted back from the coronavirus hotspots. On Saturday, the Vietnamese authorities revealed they had discovered a very dangerous new coronavirus variant that combined mutations first found in India and the UK, which spreads quickly by air. Health Minister Nguyen Thanh Long said Vietnam would soon publish genome data of the newly identified variant, which he said was more transmissible than the previously known types, reported Reuters. So, yeah, you thought this shit was over. It's not over. And if China is saying they're closing the borders, means it's probably already into China. Especially if it's as transmissible as they said, and guess what? That shit's coming back over here. Get ready for another year of this shit. Plus H10N3. Let's grab one from Fox. Fox Business reports Anheuser-Busch will give away free beer when 70% of Americans get vaccinated. From Jeanette Settembre. Get your shots for a beer, the mission behind Anheuser-Busch's plan to shell out free beer to Americans over the drinking age of 21 if 70% of U.S. adults have received at least one shot of the Coup vaccine by July 4th in support of the White House campaign to encourage more people to get vaccinated. At Anheuser-Busch, we are committed to supporting the safe and strong recovery of our nation and being able to be together again at the places and with the people we have missed so much. This commitment includes encouraging Americans to get vaccinated, and we are excited to buy Americans 21 plus a round of beer when we reach the White House goal, Anheuser-Busch CEO Michael Doukeris said in a statement. The Let's Grab a Beer initiative is called or as it's called, will be the brand's biggest giveaway in history. As an effort to incentivize more Americans to get vaccinated, Americans will get to choose from free beer, seltzer, non-alcoholic beverage, or other AB products, which include a selection of more than 100 products since once 70% of the country is vaccinated, which will be determined by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. But don't worry, it's not a cult. And getting your vaccination is not a religious statement by any stretch of the imagination. Just go get the jab, you fucking bigot, and have a free beer on us. Free trucks, free money, free guns, free beer. It's not a cult. All right, let's grab one from The Blaze. New York City set to partner with Teachers Union to start vaccinating kids in public schools. From Chris Field. New York City schools have been largely shuttered during the coronavirus pandemic, but now that the commie fucking coup jabs have been okayed for adolescents, the city's leadership has found a use for the buildings. Inoculations. It's an mRNA vaccine. It's not exactly an inoculation. An inoculation would mean they're infecting you with a light variant of the disease in order for your body to build immunity. Not slightly changing your DNA so your body knows how to fight the disease in and of itself. Let's all pay attention to the language you've all agreed on here. Mayor Bill de Blasio announced Wednesday during his daily news briefing that the city will begin a pilot program to administer vaccinations to students at public schools. The New York Post reported, noting the move will open up a world of opportunities. De Blasio revealed that his administration planned to reach a lot of young people quickly by making schools a place where kids can get vaccinated. In certain schools, we're going to pilot something very exciting, his owner declared. We're going to start launching an in-school vaccination sites. We're going to reach kids everywhere and make kids much, much safer, he continued. According to the mayor, the city and its health departments are teaming up with the United Federation of Teachers. The program will begin in 4 Bronx public schools and then eventually expand to the other 5 boroughs. Yes, the same massive teachers union that held the city hostage has been tapped for help in getting shots in kids' arms. It was just last summer that the UFT declared that the teachers would not return to in-school instruction until every student and every staff member was tested for COVID-19, along with a list of other demands. Every single person, both adult and child, that is to enter NYC school must have evidence they do not have the commie fucking coof. UFT President Michael Mulgrew said at the time, New York City must have rigorous and intensive testing systems in place. What happened in March cannot happen again. So they are blaming the kids for the outbreaks from what happened when Andrew Cuomo, hallowed be his name, started throwing grandma in the nursing home with the commie coof patients, in spite of the fact that they had the HMS Mercy sitting out in the fucking dock. Yeah, this actually is happening. All right, let's shift gears here. Let's talk about Trump and his social media, because we didn't talk about the Donald enough in the last 4 years, apparently. Starting from KCRA 3. I don't know where this is out of, but it's somewhere that's very, very warm. 84 degrees is the weather. Oh, Sacramento, California. If I looked on the other side of the screen. Social media reacts to Donald Trump's Facebook page being online, but Facebook says nothing has changed. From Jocelyn Brumbaugh. Facebook's oversight board, missed a paragraph here. Although social media reacted to what appeared to be the return of the former President Trump's Facebook account, Facebook says nothing has changed. It's the return of the, wait, no way. He didn't just say what I think he did he? Facebook's oversight board, an independent body that has the power to reverse Facebook content decisions and set precedent for the company, ruled in early May that the company must re-examine the decision in 6 months. The decision also applied to Facebook-owned Instagram, where Trump has an account. Trump has almost 60 million followers across Facebook and Instagram. Within 6 months of the decision, Facebook must re-examine the arbitrary penalty imposed on January 7th and decide the appropriate penalty, the board wrote In the decision, the penalty must be based on the gravity of the violation and the prospect of future harm. It must also be consistent with Facebook's rules for severe violations, which must in turn be clear, necessary, and proportionate. Andy Stone, Policy Communications Manager for Facebook, responded to tweets Wednesday saying, "No, nothing about the status of President Trump's presence on our platform has changed. He remains indefinitely suspended." So I'm guessing, and this is just my guess here, because that's all that I do. I'm guessing that they are preparing to overturn this. So they're putting the page back up, but they probably still have, like, if he goes to try and post something on his Facebook page or his Instagram page, he'll get the message that says, "This action cannot be completed at this time. If this message persists, please contact an administrator," in which the administrators will come back and say, "Mr. Former President, fuck yourself." So it looks like he is possibly going to be coming back. At least the pages are back, which means they never deleted them in the first place, like they said they did. But this comes on the heels of another major social media announcement for the former president. CNBC reports Trump blog page shuts down for good. From Kevin Breininger. Former President Donald Trump's blog, a webpage where he shared statements after larger social media companies banned him from their platforms, has been permanently shut down, his spokesman said on Wednesday. The page from the desk of Donald J. Trump has been scrubbed from Trump's website after going live less than a month earlier. It will not be returning, his senior aide, Jason Miller, told CNBC. It was an auxiliary to the broader efforts we have and are working on, Miller said via email. F's in the chat for from the desk of Donald Trump. Let's see those F's, guys. We've lost a national treasure here. An absolute national treasure. He declined to provide additional details about those efforts. Hoping to have more information on the broader efforts soon, but I do not have a precise awareness of timing, Miller said. But asked online later Wednesday whether the move was a precursor to the former president joining another social media platform, Miller replied, "Yes, actually, it is. Stay tuned." I don't care, really, honestly. Unless he is actually going to run for an office somewhere, I don't care what the former president does, if he's on social media or he's not. But I know that a lot of people and a lot of journalists are out there thinking about this, looking at this, saying, "Oh my God, he's going to say something racist. He's going to do it. He's going to do it. He's going to say something racist. I'm going to be the first person to comment on it. I'm going to be the first person to share. He's going to say something racist. Oh my God, he's going to do it. He's going to do it. He's going to do it. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God." You know the thing. I don't have to do the act every fucking time. But, yeah. His blog shut down. Did anybody actually ever share anything back out of that? And was he posting on that even? I feel like that would have been a bigger deal. If he made some posts and then it suddenly started showing up on Twitter everywhere. With the religious fervor that follows this man, I feel like that would have been a bigger deal. But I think he just looked at it and he said, "I'm bored with this. Okay, I'm going to go play golf. Does anybody want to play the back nine with me? Okay. Then we're going to go play my back nine in Melania, if you know what I mean. Alright, I'm done." Alright, let's grab another one here. A little bit of government stuff for you, starting from Fox News. Schumer-aligned dark money group faces IRS complaint over attempt to suppress GOP voter turnout. From Houston Keene. A dark money group aligned with Senate Majority Leader Charles U. Schumer is facing an Internal Revenue Service complaint from a liberal watchdog group for concealing their political activity, where they attempted to dampen GOP election turnout for certain races in 2018. Recently released tax records from the liberal nonprofit Majority Forward show the dark money group gave $2.7 million to a different nonprofit, the Coalition for a Safe and Secure America, in 2018, according to Axios. Majority Forward is part of the Senate Majority PAC, serving as a nonprofit arm. The $2.7 million it gave made up the majority of the $4 million raised by CSSA that year. CSSA converted that money into multiple direct mailing campaigns and digital advertisements during the 2018 midterm cycle, targeting Republican lawmakers including Senators Josh Hawley and Mike Braun. Yeah, how'd that work out for you? The ads were deceptive in their nature, claiming the candidates had changed their positions on central conservative tenets. They have. And were posted to state-specific Facebook pages. The ads led to the liberal watchdog group Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington. That's an oxymoron in and of itself. To file an IRS complaint against the CSSA, Majority Forward also recently admitted it left off legally required disclosures from direct mail pieces in the 2018 midterm cycle. You don't say. Hey, wait a second. I thought the mainstream media told me that only evil Republicans and evil Trump people. I thought that only those people had dark money. And dark money wasn't a part of the Democratic platform. What the fuck happened to that? Could it be that some of these establishment types are fucking hypocrites? No, that couldn't be. No, that couldn't be at all. But they're fighting back and forth with each other, and it's interesting. You know, we come out here and we say voter suppression, voter suppression, voter suppression. You're suppressing my vote, oh my God. And here we are with a dark money Democrat PAC that is legitimately trying to suppress the vote, admittedly. This is fucking clown world, folks. Let's keep going from the Hill. Please allow ads to support our journalism so we can fly around in private jets and you can sit here and re-report our news on a $20 microphone and a $20 webcam. Please allow the ads. We need a more expensive suit. Parliamentarian. Democrats only get one more chance to sidestep GOP this year, from Alexander Bolton. Senate parliamentarian Elizabeth McDonough has effectively ruled that only one more automatic budget reconciliation is permissible this year, dealing a blow to Democrats who previously thought they could have two more chances to sidestep Republicans in advancing President Biden's agenda. This is interesting. McDonough ruled that a revision to the 2021 budget resolution cannot be automatically discharged from the Senate Budget Committee, meaning Democrats would need at least one Republican on the 11-to-11 panel to vote with them. The bombshell ruling effectively means Senate Majority Leader Charles U. Schumer will be able to use only one more reconciliation vehicle to pass Biden's key legislative priorities this year. He will not be able to divide up the $2.3 trillion American Jobs Plans and the $1.8 trillion American Families Plan, as well as Biden's calls to expand Medicare, lower the price of prescription drugs into multiple reconciliation packages, as was envisioned by only a few weeks ago. Is Restream working over on the YouTube chat? I think so. Let's go check. Because we're having tech issues. I want to solve them here while we're on the air. That's the reason I have the live chat up. Yeah, it's working. I can see you over there. Looks like I'm dropping frames over here, but it's working. I just think everyone went quiet at once. Come on. Randy wants people to talk to, guys. Give him someone to talk to. All right, let's get back into this here. Yeah, I do check the tech on this to make sure everything's working, so. All right, let's keep going. Anything that Schumer wants to pass to the Senate with a simple majority vote in 2021 will have to go into one budget reconciliation package. Schumer would likely not be able to vote on a discharge motion on the Senate floor to force a revision to the budget resolution out of the Budget Committee, because such a motion would first require the Secretary of the Senate to be notified of a tie vote in the committee. It's a little bit telling, too, first off, that the parliamentarian has to come back and tell you, yes, you can do this, and no, you can't do this. But it's a little bit more telling that they're trying to push the Biden agenda through via budget reconciliation, and it tells you just exactly what the budget reconciliation is at this point, because it tells you what the agenda is. Because we look at this and we see All they want to do is spend more money and spend and spend and spend and spend and spend. They could be spending their time releasing regulations, which they're Democrats, they're not going to do. In fact, I know John was talking about this last night when he was talking with Jose on the generational gap, where, there are businesses that are just starting up because they had lowered regulations under the Trump administration that are already shutting down because they're starting to get hit with some of these new Democrat regulations, some of the stuff that's coming back in. But no, the majority of what they're trying to shove through Congress right now is spend. Tax and spend. Spend, 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 spend. Republicans could keep a revision to the budget resolution bottled up in committee by boycotting any vote to send it to the floor. That would deny the Budget Committee a quorum in the Senate rules prevent legislation from being reported out of committee without a quorum or a majority of the panel physically present. So they're going to put a stop to the Democrat agenda. And this is going to make for some interesting campaign ads coming up here in the near future too, by the way, just so you guys know. They need to have that 60 vote threshold just for the regular filibuster in the Senate. Plus, they need to make sure they can put somebody on the resolution committee to make sure that they don't sit back and do it on a tie basis. This is great to see. This is the wheels of the federal government grinding to a stop. And if you want something, you have to go to your local state house. I love seeing this. I love it. Oh my God, I can't tell you guys how much I love it. All right, let's grab one from the Daily Wire. We got actually a couple here videos of Jen Psaki because I know everybody loves Jen Psaki. They both came from the Daily Wire, but I decided not to do two Daily Wire articles in a row talking about the same press conference, so I grabbed just the tweet from the other one here. But Psaki on Biden calling out Democrat Senators Manchin and Sinema. It was not a criticism of them, from Daily Wire News. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki claimed on Wednesday that President Joe Biden calling out Senators Manchin and Sinema this week was not a criticism of them. All right, let's go ahead and check this out so we can just watch the video instead of reading the reports.
And Democrats, but ProPublica actually found that they've so far voted with Biden 100% of the time on major votes. And so can you explain where those comments came from and why he felt the need to call out members of his own party?
Well, I would say first that if Senator Manchin and Senator Sinema were standing with me here today, they're always welcome, they would call out their own independent streaks. And that's something that I think they're both proud of. They both vote for and represent the people in the states and all the people who elected them to represent them in the Senate. If you look at what the president said, the big tell here is I hear all the folks on TV saying, now as a former TV pundit myself, I can tell you that sometimes these conversations can be oversimplified. TV isn't always made for complex conversations about policymaking. We all know that, right? And what the president was simply conveying is that his threshold, his litmus test is not to see eye to eye on every single detail of every issue. And he doesn't with Senator Sinema and Senator Manchin. And he doesn't with Senator Capito, who's coming here later this afternoon. He believes there's an opportunity to work together, to make progress, to find areas of common ground, even if you have areas of disagreement. And he also believes that sometimes, because there are three entities, three branches of government, something he knows well, having served 36 years in the Senate, that sometimes it's not a straight line to victory or success, that sometimes it takes more time, and he's open to many paths forward. So I don't think he was intending to convey anything other than a little bit of commentary on TV punditry.
Well, it did seem to suggest that he is in favor of filibuster reform and wants to see that move. So why hasn't he been more prominent in calling for that? And is he pressuring Manchin and Sinema to move on that issue privately?
I wouldn't say that his comments yesterday were conveying a new position on his view on the filibuster. His full comment was
by saying that Manchin and Sinema are standing in the way of his agenda, essentially? What was he referencing?
That's not exactly what he said. I think it's important to quote him directly. What he said was, I hear all the folks on TV saying, why doesn't Biden get this done? Well, because Biden only has a majority of effectively 4 votes in the House and a tie in the Senate, with 2 members of the Senate who vote more with my Republican friends. He was not giving a specific commentary on a policy. He was conveying again that sometimes that's the summary, shorthand version that he sees on cable news at times. Again, it's not always the forum that's easy to provide guidance on how a bill becomes a law.
Dude, this lady fucking sucks at this. She really does. I don't know if you guys have caught this or not, but this lady, I'm a little bit, I feel a little bit bad for her because she went into this, she was completely not prepared for it, and yet she still comes out here and she gets pissed, and we'll see another one here. I've got the tweet from the other one here. Let's see. After NBC's Peter Alexander pressed Jen Psaki on why we have seen 2 massive cyber attacks on a gas pipeline and now meatpacking since Biden took office, Fox's Peter Doocy gives it a shot and wonders why these are happening now. Psaki blames the corporations for getting hacked. Let's have a listen. Full disclosure, I haven't listened to this one previously, and I didn't listen to the last one either, but let's have a listen, shall we?
On the JBS hack, these hackers based in Russia have disrupted American gas supplies and American meat supplies. Why do you think that these ransomware attacks have been rising since President Biden took office?
Well, first I would say these are private sector entities who have a responsibility to put in place measures to protect their own cybersecurity. As it relates to why criminal actors are taking actions against private sector entities, I don't think I'm the right one to speak to that.
So total coincidence.
I think you could certainly go track down those cyber criminals in Russia and have a good chat with them.
Okay. If you have any leads, we'll take that.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm sorry. I've gotten more tinfoily. Well, first off, I am friends with Stephen Ignoramus, so that's going to make anybody a little bit tinfoily. But I've got more tinfoily over this too, just based on the fact that we look at some of this, and it's the industries that they're trying to shut down. If you think about this for just a second, what got hit first by cyber attack? I really honestly think that some of this might be some government fucking fuckery coming on, given the fact that these ransomware attacks are happening. Because what are they trying to get you to eat less of? They have said this. What are they trying to get you to consume less of? They want you to consume less fuel. And even if they jack the prices through the fucking roof, people are still consuming fuel left and right. So what do? We shut down a supply of the fuel for a second and make people realize that they have to come back and live their lives with less fuel. And they don't want you to eat the meat because cow farts are causing methane that are causing global warming. Hey, what would happen if the meat supply got interrupted and beef went way expensive once? Because you know that shit's not coming back down. I mean, you got to understand that. You got to know that already. That shit's not coming back down. Hey, what would happen if the meat supply just suddenly shot up? There's some other fuckery going on here. And I'm willing to bet there's going to be another industry that they're trying to get shut down. The electric grid might be the next one to come with this. That'll be fun. Fun to watch. But yeah. It's totally their fault for getting hacked, though. The government has nothing to do with it. And it's totally Russia, too, by the way. All right. Oh, let's talk about Katie Hill. I was in a throuple, and my husband totally just coincidentally happened to give away my nude photos right when I was about to get released from Congress for stooping one of my fucking interns. That Katie Hill. Let's see what she has to say here. From NBC4 out of Los Angeles. Judge awards Daily Mail more than $100,000 in attorney's fees in Katie Hill case. From City News Service. A judge who previously cited First Amendment grounds in dismissing Daily Mail as a defendant in former Rep. Katie Hill's revenge porn suit, Wednesday awarded the publication its entire demand for more than $100,000 in attorney's fees and costs. The Daily Mail's website in October of 2019 published nude photos of Hill taken by her former spouse, Kenneth Heslop, according to the former Congresswoman's Los Angeles court's lawsuit, which was filed December 22nd and alleges state civil code violations for intentional infliction of emotional distress. Wow, that's a lot of legalese. Los Angeles Superior Court Judge Yolanda Orozco eliminated the Daily Mail as a defendant on April 7th, prompting the publication to file a motion to recover its costs in reaching that result. Finalizing a tentative ruling she issued Tuesday, the judge granted Daily Mail $103,625 in attorney's fees and $1,120 in costs. While judges often award attorney's fees amounts smaller than those requested, Orozco's ruling gives Daily Mail the full total sought. Nothing before the court indicates that such time spent on the motion was unreasonable, duplicative, or excessive, Orozco wrote. Hill's lawyers argued in their court papers that the Daily Mail lawyers spent an unreasonable amount of time on a simple fee motion and that more than one attorney did the same work. In her April ruling, Orozco said she accepted the Daily Mail's argument that the publication of the photos was a matter of public concern. No, it was a distraction. It really was. Here, the intimate images published by the Daily Mail spoke to Hill's character and qualifications for her position. Orozco wrote, accordingly, these images were a matter of public issue or public interest. In a Twitter post in response to the April ruling, Hill said she sued the Daily Mail for their publication of my non-consensual nude images. We lost in court because a judge, not a jury, thinks that revenge porn is free speech. The fight has a massive implication for any women whoever wants to run for office, so quitting isn't an option. Well, you probably shouldn't be sending dirty fucking pictures anyway. And when I turned the webcam on for the first time, because I also knew that somewhere down the road, we all did it in our 20s. Or a lot of us did. Maybe some of you guys didn't, but a lot of us, the husband, the wife, hey, I got this sausage here waiting for you, that kind of thing. It's stupid stuff, and the technology was new at the time. We've all done it here, but I did make a rule. And ironically enough, when I started up the channel, I was also coming back into the dating world once again, where I will not send or receive such images because it's so easy to get in trouble with them. Even if, just unsolicitedly, some girl sends me a picture of her fucking titties. Yeah, they're nice to look at. But the next time when I say, okay, well, I'm going to run for Senate now against Ron Johnson coming up here. And the Senate Ethics Committee comes up and says, this woman says that you begged her for pictures of her boobs. No, I didn't. She just sent them to me. Oh, well, we found digital pathways that show pictures of this woman's boobs in your phone. Yeah, let's just eliminate that. Let's get the temptation out of there. Let's get that out of our lives. And, I will still have to look back at what I did in my 20s, but that should be the way that everybody should be doing. Everybody should be conducting themselves that way. Because you eliminate shit like this. But, realistically, I'm pretty sure that article was a plant. Somebody in the Daily Mail got really, really rich from the DNC because Katie Hill was caught in a Senate ethics violation that would have ended the career of any of her Republican colleagues, and suddenly they needed a reason for her to be stepping aside of her own volition. All right, let's grab one from CNN. Is Saint here today? Is Saint here this morning? Has anybody seen Saint? Because I know that he had a bunch to say on this one. Arizona Secretary of State Katie Hobbs launches gubernatorial campaign. From Dan America. Arizona Secretary of State Katie Hobbs on Wednesday announced a campaign for governor, releasing a video in which she touts her role as a leading defender of the integrity of the 2020 election and pledges to help Arizona build back after the coronavirus pandemic. Hobbs' profile rose considerably in the wake of the 2020 election when she made numerous media appearances, initially on the vote count in Arizona and later defending the state's count against some of the baseless conspiracy theories. Yeah, let's get through the investigation before we start saying baseless. From Republicans, Hobbs has lately been the chief's critic of the so-called audit of Maricopa County ballots. Yeah, try to poison the well before any of the information comes back out. There is real harm going on for many, and the other side isn't offering policies to make our lives better. They're offering conspiracies that only make our lives worse, Hobbs says in the video. That features clips of her media appearances and addresses some of the threats that she received because of her job. We did our jobs, they refused to do theirs. There's a lot more work to be done, and that's why I'm running for governor. No, you've been planning this for a while, lady. She adds, in 2020, against all odds, in the middle of the commie fucking coup, we provided that democracy works. Arizona needs to work for all. That's why I'm running. Let's get the job done. No, it's a power grab thing because you think that Arizona is bluing and you think you have a chance. And actually, Saint seems to think that that she does have a chance. I don't know. I don't know if there's been enough influx from California to make it happen yet. I definitely think that Arizona's purpling. I don't think it's bluing yet. So she might get her ass beat on this one. Or she might pop back in. I don't know. I really don't. Because I know the demographic shift of that state is changing. Especially with immigration. So it's possible. And I think a lot of what's going to happen from this is going to come from the Maricopa County thing. And how it gets handled. And I know that they are trying desperately to make this seem like this is the most evil thing possible, especially with other states getting on board with it as well. And I really think that worries Hobbs because I think that she's getting ready to be installed by the DNC. Not necessarily elected, but installed by the DNC. So we will see what happens with that. By the way, because this is streaming out to YouTube, I do need to address the chat slightly. Train is going. I need to address this, that Joe Biden won the election. He is the most popular president in history. He got more votes than even Barack Obama. Everything was completely above board. There was no such thing as fraud anywhere. Honk, honk, wink, wink. Most popular president in history. Nothing bad happened. Most popular president in history. Don't even dare question that fact. Honk honk, wink wink. No, it wasn't a stolen election. Most popular president in history. Honk, wink wink. California moves forward with reparations effort to create more equitable future. From Marina Pitovsky. California Governor Gavin Newsom on Tuesday said his state is moving forward with efforts to create a more equitable and inclusive future for all, the first meeting of the state's task force to study proposals for reparations for African Americans. Newsom last year signed a bill approving the task force that will consider paying reparations for slavery. The statute requires a task force to take recommendations for lawmakers to address the findings by July of 2023. The recommendations are slated to include details on what form of compensation lawmakers should authorize, as well as who should receive these funds. And that's going to be the interesting part, is the who should receive. And how do you verify that? If you have dark colored skin, do you just automatically get into the pool? If you came from, I don't know, Nambia last year, are you eligible for the reparations? If you have one black parent and one white parent, does your white parent pay your black parent to pay you? I have so many questions as to, not necessarily, and once again, it's not the idea, because I think that slavery was wrong. It's the way that you go through and you verify and you push this through. How do you verify it? Which I'd be interested to see where they go with it and how they do this. Because there are going to be so many people in line with their hands out that you're not going to be able to know who is verifiable and who isn't. But if they got a plan, I'm willing to read it and see what's going on with it. But apparently they have a plan. All right, let's grab one from Politico here. Biden privately tells lawmakers not to expect much on reparations legislation. From Eugene Daniels. Joe Biden was more blunt about racism than perhaps any president before him, and many in the crowd expected, in his remarks commemorating 100 years since the Tulsa Race Massacre on Tuesday. He called out how, through the years, there have been members in elected office who were very public about their association or membership with the KKK, Representative Cori Bush said in the parking lot of the Greenwood Cultural Center. He set up the scene in his speech to take us into what was happening at the time, and that was really powerful. I was so glad to hear it. You know who was very public about their association with membership in the KKK? One Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. But some attendees noted that what they considered a glaring omission, any mention of reparations for the survivors of the massacre and their descendants, some of whom have sued the city and state for compensation, and full-throated endorsement of H.R. 40, which would create a commission to study reparations. The bill passed out of the House Judiciary Committee in April for the first time since it was introduced in 1989. As a candidate, Biden said he supported the Commission on Reparations, but the administration has yet to endorse the actual bill. After his speech Tuesday, the president met with the members of the Congressional Black Caucus, who brought up the need for H.R. 40, which is named the 40 Acres and a Mule Promise, that now symbolizes the lack of support formerly enslaved people received from the federal government. According to those involved in the conversations, Biden let them down gently. He didn't disagree with what we're doing, said Representative Brenda Lawrence, the second vice chair of the CBC. He did talk about his plate being full with trying to get the infrastructure bill passed, and that he really wanted to make sure that he could get that through before he took a look at anything else. Biden's biggest concern on H.R. 40, Lawrence said, is getting it through the Senate. The bill also hasn't even been scheduled for a full floor vote in the House, where it has 188 co-sponsors. Tuesday in Tulsa illustrated the dichotomy that has come to define Biden's approach to issues of race and race equity. No president has been so forcefully called out the nation's sordid history. At the same time, Biden has downplayed the likelihood of legislative action, sidestepping calls for him to embrace rules, reform in the Senate to allow easier passage of relevant bills. In addition to expressing fear that H.R. 40 would die in the Senate behind the scenes, Biden also announced on Tuesday he was handing off voting rights portfolio to his Vice President Kamala Harris. Taking a lid. Come on, man! Taking a lid. Let him down easy, take a lid. The absentee president. There was no widespread voter fraud. There was no voter fraud at all. Nothing. It was the most popular. Joe Biden is the most popular president in history, and he got even more votes than Barack Obama. Honk. All right, speaking of things that disappeared out of the news in a hurry, Parker Branton tweets out, Miami-Dade police released video of mass shooter suspects exiting the cars with guns. So you remember over Memorial Day weekend, for a half a second, we heard about another mass shooting in Miami-Dade, and we needed to come out and start hearing it. Well, it disappeared, and, well, let's see what the video is. They're out and they're in, and they're gone. Police say 2 are dead, 23 shot. In all, ranging from 17 to 32. Reward for the suspects is $30,000 from Crime Stoppers 305 and $100,000 from Marcus Lemonis for arrest and conviction of the suspect. So I'm gonna full screen this one, because if you guys do have information, I would like somebody, if they have information from this audience, to get the reward. I don't know if anybody would, but I would like somebody to. But let's have a look at this one more time in a little bit more detail. Because shooting 23 people sucks. I love how the one guy had the middle finger flying at the end. All right, so if anybody has any information and you do get the reward, links are in the chat. All right, let's grab another one here from CBS Miami. Where have we gone wrong? Sheriff on 14-year-old girl, 12-year-old boy shooting at deputies. From CBSMiami.com team. Sheriff's deputies in Volusia County were forced to fire on a 14-year-old girl and a 12-year-old boy after they reportedly opened fire on them from a home they broke into. The sheriff's office said the foster kids ran away from a juvenile home. On Tuesday, they broke into a house where they found an AK-47, a pump shotgun, a handgun, and 200 rounds of ammunition. When deputies arrived, the children shot at them. Volusia County Sheriff Mike Chitwood said they tried to negotiate with children to stop for 2 hours. Our deputies did everything that they could to try to de-escalate, and they almost lost their lives to a 12-year-old and a 14-year-old, said Chitwood. Where have we gone wrong that the 12-year-old and the 14-year-old think it's okay to take on law enforcement? What the hell is the Department of Juvenile Justice doing sending these kids to places that can't handle them? Well, for starters, at 12 years old and 14 years old, they've been told for pretty well their entire lives that all cops are bastards. And anytime you run in with a police officer, then you're going to get shot. So you might as well shoot back first. That's part of it. Deputies eventually returned fire, hitting the girl in the abdomen and the arm. After the girl was shot, the boy dropped the AK-47. He wasn't hurt, and no deputies were injured. The girl is now fighting for her life at a hospital, which I don't know if she's going to survive or not. It was probably pretty targeted. The boy wasn't hurt, but he's into custody. But yeah, I mean, how do you get there from here? And it is a little bit shitty that the deputies are going back and blaming the foster care system for this, but there is a link in the chain with them as well. So a lot of stuff happened here. A lot of stuff went on with this, but yeah, I mean, where do you get to the point where you're shooting back on 2 kids? And how do we as a society stop this? We've got some body cam footage from WESH2, new body camera video, released from shootout involving 14-year-old girl and 12-year-old boy. A 14-year-old girl is in the hospital after a shootout with Volusia County deputies on Tuesday, according to Volusia County Sheriff Mike Chitwood. Chitwood addressed the public Tuesday night and on Wednesday, saying the 12-year-old and 14-year-old opened fire repeatedly on deputies at a home in Enterprise, Volusia County. This went on for hours. This wasn't a split second. We exchanged gunfire. We were out of here from 7:30 until 9 o'clock until we returned fire. So this may be disturbing.
A lot of details.
That's just the news. Do we have the body cam footage? We do not. We've got the press conference and the developing story. No body cam footage.
Over here, there's actually still a sheriff.
Shut up. Crews responded at the scene of the shooting incident at a property at 1050 Enterprise, Austin Road in Enterprise, officials said. According to officials, the 2 juveniles broke into a house and used multiple weapons found inside, opened fire on responding deputies. According to Chitwood, around 5 p.m. on Tuesday, a 12-year-old boy had reportedly run away with a 14-year-old girl from a juvenile home for troubled children. Deputies searched for the 2 children as the 12-year-old is insulin dependent. Each time a deputy located the children, Chitwood said they would run away. Around 7 p.m., the sheriff said a passerby said he heard glass breaking at a home. Deputies discovered the house had been broken into. Officials with the Volusia County Sheriff's Office called the homeowner, who said no one should be at the home, and the homeowner told the Sheriff's Office there are firearms and ammunition in the house, according to Chitwood. As deputies surrounded the home, they were met with gunfire multiple times. At 8:28 p.m., a sergeant took gunfire multiple times, but they did not return fire. The children continued to shoot at deputies, the sheriff said. At 8:40 p.m., the 14-year-old girl emerged from the home and threatened to kill a deputy, Chitwood said. The 14-year-old then came out of the garage armed with a firearm and was shot by deputies. The 12-year-old boy decided to surrender, the sheriff said. No deputies were injured. Deputies did everything they could to de-escalate, and they almost lost their lives to a 12-year-old and a 14-year-old, Chitwood said. The 14-year-old was shot multiple times and taken to a hospital where she is now stable. The 12-year-old was not injured, but taken to a hospital for his medical condition. And probably a psych eval, too. So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff to deal with here. There's a lot of stuff to go over. I have a lot of questions about the storage of the guns, why they weren't stored. I mean, I keep what I have in a safe, except there's the one in the nightstand that I don't keep locked up for. That's the just in case one, in case of emergency. But everything else is locked up and secured. So, but I know that's not always a deal either, because people assume because they live alone or they don't have children in the house that they can just leave. I mean, leave it in a drawer somewhere and then not worry about it. But that's what we have going on from that. Yeah, that's breaking news, so that's not going to really be the body cam footage either. All right, let's grab another one here. From Fox News, New Jersey elementary students, first-person Hitler essay sparks outrage, probe underway. From David Arrow. A first-person essay on Adolf Hitler was written by a fifth-grade student in New Jersey is under investigation. There have been questions raised about the fifth-grade class project. We understand that tensions are running high and that our community is extremely upset. We share those feelings. Tenafly Public School Superintendent Shauna C. DeMarco said in a statement Monday, "We are reviewing..." Oops, I've lost my place there. "We are reviewing all of the facts surrounding this matter and will provide an update this week." The handwritten bio, written by the Nazi leader's voice, was displayed in a hallway at Maugham Elementary School in Tenafly, according to Englewood resident Lori Burke, who posted a picture of the essay on Facebook. Burke said the student dressed as Hitler while delivering the character development project to the entire class. "My greatest accomplishment was uniting a great mass of German and Austrian people behind me," the student wrote in the handwritten report that was titled Accomplishments. "I was pretty great, wasn't I?" the essay read. "I was very popular and many people followed me until I died. My belief in anti-Semitism drove me to kill more than 6 million Jews." Burke's Facebook post sparked angry messages from users on social media platform, along with the local community. "How is this possible in one of the most Israeli towns in the country? I am disgusted," one user wrote. "I'm in shock. This is terrible," another replied. "This is a county filled with children and grandchildren of Holocaust survivors. As there are fewer survivors, still we must remember and teach our children the atrocities of the monster and not his accomplishments," Burke wrote in a separate Facebook post. So, I've not read this article that this kid wrote, or this first-person character development assignment, but I have to imagine, especially given the fact that he came in right here in this paragraph and said, "I was pretty great, wasn't I?" the essay read. "I was very popular and many people followed me until I died. My belief in anti-Semitism drove me to kill more than 6 million Jews." I have to imagine that this, like, if we actually dig into the assignment, we're going to find that the kid who wrote it was actually very deprecating to the Fuhrer, especially given the community that this is. I can't imagine. And once, I don't know how available this is going to be. I haven't read the report, but I can't imagine that this is going to be in a favorable light, except for to mock the Fuhrer for his beliefs and for the fact that he actually believed some of the shit that he was spouting, and making fun of him for the fact that he actually believed it. I can't imagine for a second, with the way the public school system goes, that this would have actually been in support of the Fuhrer. But that's where we sit with it. All right. From USA Today. Busy live chat today, by the way. Thanks, you guys. And by the way, if you guys are just lurking, get those last minute messages in too, because tomorrow is the day that we read the live chat. And we also thank everybody personally who chatted in the live chat in the days before. All right, I got just a couple more, then we will do a thing that I like and a thing that I hate. From the USA Today. Iran's largest warship, the Karg, catches fire, sinks near the port of Jask in the Gulf of Oman. From the Associated Press. The largest warship in the Iranian Navy caught fire and later sank Wednesday in the Gulf of Oman under unclear circumstances, semi-officials news agency reported. The Fars and the Tasnim news agencies said efforts failed to save the support warship, Karg, named after the island that serves as the main oil terminal for Iran. The blaze began around 2:25 a.m. and firefighters tried to contain it. Fars said the vessel sank near the Iranian ports of Jask, some 1,270 kilometers southeast of Tehran in the Gulf of Oman near the Strait of Hormuz, the narrow mouth of the Persian Gulf. Photos circulated on Iranian social media of sailors wearing life jackets evacuating the vessel as fire burned behind them. State TV and semi-official news agencies referred to the 207-meter Karg as a training ship. Fars published video of the thick black smoke rising from the ship early Wednesday morning. Satellite photos from Planet Labs Incorporated, analyzed by the Associated Press, showed the Karg off to the west of Jask on Tuesday. Satellites from the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration that track fires from space detected a blaze at the site of the Jask that started just before the time of the fire, reported by Fars. The Karg serves as one of few vessels in the Iranian Navy capable of providing replenishment at sea for its other ships. It can also lift heavy cargo and serve as a launch point for helicopters. The warship, built by Britain and launched in 1977, entered the Iranian Navy in 1984 after lengthy negotiations that followed Iran's 1979 Islamic Revolution. So, well, it was old. It served its time. They bought it secondhand, and they wondered where they were having problems with it. Sewell would be having a blast with this one if he was in here in the live chat. Just with all the time that it's... well, brown water Navy and blue water Navy and American exceptionalism and all this kind of fun stuff. And I love Sewell, I really do, but he kind of takes some of this military stuff a bit too far. But I would love to be reading his live chat on this one. It would be great. I would love it. All right, two more. From the Daily Mail, Google's head of diversity is slammed for saying Jews have insatiable appetite for war and killing. In 2007 blog post, which argued that they should have more compassion because of the Holocaust. And he wasn't fired, by the way. From Ross Ibbotson for Mail Online. Google's head of diversity has been slammed for writing that Jews have an insatiable appetite for war and killing and arguing they should have more compassion because of the Holocaust. Kamal Bob, who is also an equity in computing don at Georgia Tech, wrote a 2007 blog post which remains on his website titled, "If I Were a Jew." Bob writes, "If I were a Jew, I would be concerned about my insatiable appetite for war and killing in defense of myself. Self-defense is undoubtedly an instinct, but I would be afraid of my increasing insensitivity to the suffering of others." He evokes the memory of Kristallnacht, a Nazi program against the Jews in 1938, and a Holocaust victim, Anne Frank, to question why Israel lacks compassion towards Muslims in Gaza, Lebanon, and the West Bank. My greatest torment would be that I misinterpreted the identity offered by my history and transposed spiritual and human compassion with self-righteous impunity, the academic wrote. Yeah, that doesn't fly well usually in public discourse. But, he still has his job, so there's that. Now, when I read this headline, I thought this was going to be a lot worse than what I just read. Except for the insatiable appetite for this. He brings up good facts, he brings up good arguments. Yeah, okay, he probably shouldn't have said the insatiable appetite for war part, but other than that, yeah, they've got the history where they're kicked around everywhere that they go. But everybody's still an individual, and this collectivist mindset doesn't work. Collectivism does not work. It never has. Everyone's an individual. Everyone has individual life experiences. Nobody who survived the Holocaust, I don't think right now, is alive still. There might still be some because we're pushing on that 80 years ago thing, but we're getting to the point where almost nobody who survived the Holocaust is alive anymore. We're getting to that point. And everybody else has individual life experiences. that will shape the way they look at the world and the way they react to things. All right, last one. Then we'll do a thing that I like and a thing that I hate. From CBS Denver, new sexual assault allegations. Denver Public School Director Tay Anderson stepping back temporarily. From Anissa Padilla. Denver Public School Board Director Tay Anderson will step back from everyday board duties during the investigation into claims he sexually assaulted dozens of students who were undocumented immigrants. These claims that I've put my family and me in harm's way, Anderson tweeted. I must protect those I love first, therefore I'll be stepping back from everyday board functions until the completion of the independent investigation. I'm confident in the ongoing investigation will prove what I have said from day one, and that I have never sexually assaulted anyone, Anderson stated. I look forward to returning to the coming months to continuing the fight for Denver students. Anderson's fellow DPS board members agreed with his decision to step back from routine board functions and events until the conclusion of the investigation authorized by the board on April 6th. However, Director Anderson will continue to vote on the necessary matters, including the hiring of a new superintendent. The school board encouraged anyone with relevant information to reach out to the investigations law group at interviews@ilgdenver.com. So this came to me, and I didn't even know this was happening, when somebody in the Discord put in the article saying that this guy was definitely, well, they still said allegations, but the original article I read for this was very, very adamant that the original writer believed that these allegations happened. And I have no reason to believe that they happen. You are innocent until you're proven guilty. But he is stepping back at this point. He's holding back. And I think that's the best thing to do during the pending investigation because, I mean, especially when you're around kids. If you're on a director for a school, director's board for a school, yeah, you should almost be forced to step back at this point. If you are involved in an allegation diddling any kids, not just illegal immigrant kids. But regardless, he is stepping back. So we will see what happens to this from the conclusion. The hard part for me is that because it's Denver, I would have a hard time believing that a Black Lives Matter activist would be thrown under the bus unless there was at least some merit to what's going on there. But I don't know. I've not seen the evidence. I'm not a juror. I'm not an investigator. I hope he didn't. I really did, because that's depraved and deplorable, and you're robbing dozens of kids of their childhood at that point. I hope to God he didn't do it. I'm thinking of the victims, not necessarily putting somebody with political ideology different from mine behind bars. No. I hope to God he didn't do it. I really do. But we will see what the investigation does. All right, and that's going to be it for the news. Now let's do a thing that I like and a thing that I hate. Actually, I've got a couple things I like today. Just a couple. First and foremost, obviously, you guys have been hearing me brag about this. The picture quality looks a little bit better for you guys, I'm guessing. I know, I use crappy monitors here, so it still looks a little pixelated over here for me. But it looks like everything's running a little bit smoother and all that as well. But yeah, we've got the new command center running. I've worked out some of the kinks and some of the bugs. So it all looks good. It looks enjoyable. And hopefully we have a little bit better audio platform. It's not picking up nearly as much background noise. The sound card has noise suppression in there. That seems like it's doing really well as well. So we're not getting near as much of that that was on there before when we were sitting back there. So it all looks good. I'm glad I'm able to give you guys a better product in the morning. Hopefully this means some donations will go up, but I'm really glad to see that we have a better product going on in the morning. I'm glad I can do this for you guys, and we will have the retirement party for the laptop coming up here, but I like this. But the other thing that I like here today, the news thing I like today, comes from the Center Square out of Virginia. 3rd Virginia Sheriff switches from Democrat to Republican over policing reforms, from Tyler Arnold. And I love this because we look at some of these things and people are just typecast because they once ran as a Democrat, they once ran as a Republican. And a lot of people tried to pin the Donald to this one too because he's been constitutionalist, Democrat, Republican. He's been all these different kinds of things throughout his life here. And I'm glad that we have some fluidity to this, because once these positions and the parties start to go fucking nuts, I'm glad that people can come back and run. Let's read briefly from the Center Square. In response to legislative Democrats enacting a series of police reforms, 3 Southwest Virginia sheriffs elected as Democrats have changed their party to become Republicans. Sheriff Chip Schuler of Smith County, who was elected as a Democrat in 2015, was the most recent addition to the Republican Party. In a news release, Schuler said the law enforcement has faced relentless attacks from Democrats in Washington and Richmond. In 2015, Schuler was elected with slightly more than 59% of the vote and was re-elected in 2019 with slightly more than 60% of the vote. Smith County is a mostly Republican district in which more than 3/4 of votes backed former President Trump in the 2020 election. And I like to see this too, because what did we see last year? Jeff Van Drew jumped ship off the Democrat Party because the Democrats went fucking nuts after the midterms. They went into full TDS mode and full meltdown mode, and now they have power, honk honk, wink wink, in their honk their fucking presidency. Now they have all the power in the world, and they're trying to jam through a legislative agenda that would make even the most extremists back in the early 2000s blush. They're trying to go harder on this and harder and harder. And other people are looking at this and saying, dude, fuck this. I'm still waiting for the day that Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin switch their political party affiliations. Because they're doing nothing but getting hammered and hammered and hammered by Democrats in their own caucuses. And these 3 sheriffs are doing this. I mean, I've switched. I grew up in a Democrat household. I grew up voting Democrat. I voted for Bill. I didn't vote for Bill because I was too young to vote. But I did volunteer on the Gore campaign. I volunteered on the second Bill campaign. I was a Democrat when I was younger, and I went through a little bit of a neocon thing when I was younger, and I would call myself a Federalist, but I generally do tend to vote Republican if I can stand it. It's either at this point vote Republican or leave it fucking blank, because all of these progressive assholes have gone fucking crazy at this point. But regardless, yes, you can switch if your political party goes off the deep end, you can switch. You don't have to go off the deep end with them. You don't have to go and believe in everything that they say, because they say, if you don't believe this, you're not a Democrat. Well, then fuck you, I'm not a Democrat. Fuck off. And they're not real big on bringing people back either, by the way. So good on these people for coming back and moving on. I love to see this. Go with your ideology, not the letter next to your name. Absolutely. All right, now for a thing that I hate. Reading here, first a tweet from Hillary Clinton, and then the article that I have with it goes with this. This took guts. Thank you for not staying silent, Paxton. And this is an article from D Magazine. Lake Highland School valedictorian pulls switcheroo on commencement. So I actually want to read a little bit of this and let you guys know what's going on with this. Lake Highlands High School valedictorian pulls switcheroo on commencement speech. From Tim Rogers, Paxton Smith got one speech approved, then surprise, read another about abortion rights. You know the drill. Every valedictorian gets to give her speech approved before she delivers it at commencement. You can't let high school kids, even really smart, hardworking, responsible kids, just get up and say whatever they want to say. That leads to chaos and rioting. I actually did just wing my salutatorian speech. I wasn't valedictorian, I was salutatorian. And I completely winged that speech. I didn't write anything down, I didn't prepare it. So, Paxton Smith, the valedictorian of Lake Highlands High, class of 2021, with her 104.93 average, submitted her speech ahead of Sunday's commencement ceremony at the high school stadium. It was about media and how much of it she consumes and how that consumption has shaped the way she sees the world. But another matter kept nagging at her. She couldn't stop thinking about the heartbeat bill that Governor Greg Abbott had signed into law last month. The law prohibits abortions as early as 6 weeks before many women even know they're pregnant. And it matters not if the pregnancy results from incest or rape. Abortion rights activists say it is the most restrictive law in the country. It will go into effect in September. Yeah, that's doing nothing but trying to get up to the Supreme Court. We've talked about that on the other program before. The more Smith thought about it, the more she was drawn to the conclusion that there was nothing more important she could address with her time at the microphone. Smith talked to her 3 parents about her decision. 2 of them read her new speech and approved. The third wasn't thrilled, but agreed to keep quiet. She's an outgoing person by nature, but knowing what sort of reaction to her remarks might spark filled Smith with trepidation. Leading up to Sunday, she practiced the speech again and again to the point where she didn't need to think about the words. On Sunday, as she climbed the stairs to the stage, her mind went blank. At the lectern, with shaky voice, she began thanking one of her coaches, then pulled from her bra a single piece of paper, folded in quarters, and told people what was on her mind. Her voice grew stronger with each sentence. At the end of her 3 minutes, she was in full command of that stage. 2 days after her speech, Smith says, "It feels great. It also feels a little weird. Whenever I have opinions that can be considered political or controversial, I keep them to myself because I don't like to gain that kind of attention for that kind of stuff, but I'm glad that I could do something. I'm glad that it's getting attention. It just feels weird for me personally that I'm linked to the attention that the speech got." Now, I hate this. My salutatorian speech focused on going forward in the future, making the best out of your lives, no matter what it was that you carried out of high school. Before that speech, I was best known for giving a speech in front of the high school, off the cuff once again, because, and you guys can look back through my video series, my solo video series, and see this stuff. Because, and I've been very open about this, my best friend was accused of trying to orchestrate a school shooting. They accused him of trying to become one of the school shooters. He wasn't. And I gave the speech blaming my entire school for bullying my friend from the time I met him in the 3rd grade on to when we were in 10th grade and it happened. I was best known for that speech prior to this. So I made my salutatorian speech talking about moving forward from the traumas of the past, of what we did in high school, and going into the world fresh-minded and fresh-faced. Not political at all. And progressives, especially like Hillary Clinton, who is very proud of this woman, want everything to be the political, want everything, because they can't exist outside of the political unless people are sitting back and literally worshiping at the altar of politics. And I hate that. I absolutely hate that. It's disgusting that this is what this has to be. I have to push a political agenda in everything in life. Why? Why do we have to do this at this point? I mean, you guys come here for politics, but you have a choice to go watch anything else. I could probably come back up and find 25 different streams on Twitch for something other than politics you guys could go watch. You could go watch Amaranth do ASMR in a bikini. But you guys come here for the politics. And I always said if I got shut down on political speech from Twitch and YouTube, I would just say the fuck with it and do gaming content forever. We have other options from this, but people like this valedictorian don't want you to have other options. They want this to be front and center in front of you every second, every step of every fucking day. But that's what it's going to be. And that's going to be the end of the show. So, let's head out of here. Let's get some music up and let's do this, shall we? All right, well, after that nice little rant there for you guys, holy shit, that's loud. No? Come back here. Thanks, guys, for coming back here and hanging out with me here and listening to my rant and dealing with our Twitch guys over there, too. I see that over there, and I'm going to go back and read that as well. But if you guys are lurking right now, get those last-minute messages in so we can come back and make sure that, we're sitting over here and thanking everybody. Well, I just lost my complete train of thought there. I'm sorry. So that we're making sure that we're thanking everybody for coming in and chatting in the live chat. Everybody's welcome. All opinions are welcome. You guys can come back and chat about what you want and discuss among each other. We don't kick anybody out unless they're doxing or actually completely causing a disruption. And if you do get muted by a mod, just let me know. If you don't think it was right, come at me calmly and I will address it with the mod and with what happened. And if I think that you were wrongfully muted, I will restore your speaking rights, and if I think you were a dick, I won't. other than that, I do trust my mods, so that's why I do a review process. Either way, we're going to head out of here for the morning. We will be back here tomorrow with more Contemporary and the live chat reading as well on the new system. And also keep in mind, mark your calendars, 5:30 on Saturday, we will be doing the retirement party for the old laptop too. So definitely looking forward to that. Hope you guys can come hang out with us. I think Steven's going to come back and play taps for it as well. So definitely looking forward to that. If you are on Twitch, stick around. We are going to go raid somebody off of here, but we're going to get off the rest of these programming here. So we will see you guys tomorrow for more Contemporary. Until then, I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary.